Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about my battery enclosure and the wiring that went into it. So for the actual enclosure, I got a Dewalt Tough System box. It's one of the few boxes that A, could fit my battery, and B, was strong enough to actually lift it. So inside here, we're going to go in a minute. I have an AGM Marine battery, and it's fairly heavy. I want to say it's around 50 pounds. Um, so I wanted to make sure I had a enclosure that would be able to withstand it. So I had another enclosure, and the handle actually snapped off and it fell on my foot. Luckily, I didn't break anything. Um, so this one has been extremely strong. It's can withstand, I think, up to 75 pounds. So it's well worth the couple dollars that I needed to spend for it. So without further ado, let's go into what I've got in my battery box. So on the front panel, I'll give you a close-up view of it. I've got a couple of charging ports. They're just a direct feed to the battery itself, nothing too exciting there. But I just use a regular trickle charger to charge the battery. I've got an ammeter and a voltmeter so I can see the current amps that are being drawn from the battery and how much voltage is left on the battery itself. Then I've got two cigar adapters to plug in. The one is for my telescope, and that actually splits into two. I'm going to be redoing this in a future video, but that's on one, I'm going to say circuit. It's not really a circuit, on one voltage regulator. And then the other one has two ports on it. One's a cigar, and then one is a USB port. So the USB is just to charge your cell phones or whatever you have out in the field. I haven't had to use that yet, but I tested it. It worked fine. And the other one, it's actually for a heating blanket that I had. So I also do astronomy in the winter, and in here in Michigan, it gets rather chilly. And I've actually had it where my iPad refused to work properly. So I bought a 12-volt heating blanket, and I'll put the link again in the description. And so I can plug that in here, and that's on a separate voltage regulator. I wanted to separate these just to make sure that I didn't overload one of the voltage regulators with too much draw, since I have a heating pad and my telescope. And I wanted to make sure my telescope rig had enough draw. And then down at the bottom, I have 2 voltmeters for the actual cigar adapters and for the voltage regulators themselves. So the top voltage regulator, that's going to display for the battery. So that could be 12 volts, could be 10 volts. It depends how much you've been using it. But with the voltage regulator, that actually bumps it up to 13.1 or 13.8, I believe. So these voltage regulators will actually read 13.8. So let me give you a close-up of all of these. So got my positive and negative terminals. These are for the charging of the battery itself. Well, I forgot to mention, I do have a power switch. I've got my voltage regulator, so if I turn it on, you see I'm at 12.7. I used it just a little bit. I've got one cigar. This is on this circuit. I've got my cigar and my USB. So I've got USB-A and USB-C. Then my voltmeter, which shows the voltage for this side of the voltage regulator. So one voltage regulator is for these 3 devices or outputs. And then this one is another cigar, soon to be changed to a more secure connector, and then a voltage meter for that one. Okay, so inside the box, we've got a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to bring you back over here. So in here, we've got my battery itself. We've got two, I believe, 6-gauge wires. These are for charging. I went beefy as possible. I'm not sure if I quite need 6-gauge, but I was doing some reading and they were saying to use 6-gauge wires, so that's what I used. And then I've got all of my wires going to all the different ports, and I'll show you a wiring diagram very soon. And then this part right here goes to these two silver boxes, and these two silver things are my voltage regulator. The one labeled PRI is the primary one, so that goes to the to my rig, my telescope. And then the one that was labeled PRI, and I've since relabeled it ALT, is my alternate one. So that goes to the USB and the heating pad. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is actually remove the battery, and then I will do some tidying up of the cables. Then I'll show you the wiring diagram, and that'll be just about it for this video. It's going to be rather short. I'm not doing any rewiring. I'm not removing any wiring. I'm pretty happy with all the lengths of the wires. I don't know if you saw it really clearly, but the wiring is fairly neat. It's just all held on with zip ties, and I do have this split loom wrap, so I'm going to put that around the cables just to make it look a little nicer. So away we go. Now this battery actually came from my good friends at Troy Auto Care. Thanks, Christy. They're there for all of your auto needs and also for any marine batteries that you need. They will dispose of the core from your old one and get you taken care of with the new one. One thing to note, I did briefly consider doing lithium ion over an AGM. So the advantage of a lithium ion is it is significantly lighter, but it's also, and it lasts longer. It could last up to 10 years, where this one, they're saying 2 to 3, maybe 5 years. But just the cost alone, I can get 3 to 4 of these batteries versus one lithium ion battery. So this battery is, let's see, it is 650 cold cranking amps. It can produce, that's not what I was really concerned about. What I was concerned about is how many amp hours it was. And this was 140 amp hours, which was more than enough for 3 to 4 nights of doing imaging for around, 10 hours, depending on how much draw I had. So I have a couple straps in here holding it down, and I'll show you that in about 2 seconds. So inside here, I just bought a couple of simple straps with buckles on them. and I wrapped them around a couple of angle brackets. And the reason I did this was to hold the battery securely in place when I'm moving it around. And I put 6 of these angle brackets around. I don't know if you can see these back too. But I just drilled through the base of the toolbox, and I measured it. As you can see, I've got my little marks still after a couple years here. Put a couple bolts in it and tightened it down so it's about the same dimensions as the battery. And then I wanted these to go over the top of the battery, and then I ratcheted it down fairly tight so the battery doesn't move. I'm not going to be flipping the battery over, 180 degrees so it's on its head, but it does get jostled a little bit in transport, and I didn't want the battery to move. In here, you can see all of my cables. There we go. It's nice and focused now. I tried to be fairly consistent with colors. So black is generally ground. Red is generally my hot wires. When I dealt with my alternate power regulator, I had to switch colors because I ran out of colors and I didn't want to get confused. So I used yellow and green, green being ground and yellow being hot. Obviously red and black from the main power legs, those are both of my both hot and ground. So you might notice for the connectors, I'm not using your typical connector. I don't know if you can read it. No, it's kind of out of focus here. Yeah, anyways, these are called WAGO connectors. If you haven't used them, I highly suggest that you invest. There we go. Now we can see them. I highly suggest that you consider using these for your wiring projects. They are absolutely wonderful. They're lever locks, so you just lift this lever up and slide your wire in, push the lever down, and then it is in there nice and securely. They are not weatherproof, as I found out with another project that I've used, but as long as you have an enclosure that's fairly weather tight, you should be good using these as your solution. So everything I have WAGOs. They have inline ones like this guy here. Then they've got like 3s. This is a 5. I don't think I have any 4s on this one. I don't even know if they make a 4. But down here, got a bunch of inline ones connecting my power regulators to everything. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is disconnect all of these standoffs. So I did, after I measured or after I routed all the wires where they were going, I took these standoffs, they're just zip tie standoffs, and I affixed them to the sides of the toolbox and zip tied all the cables around it. So again, it's a little neater. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all these. So let's see if I can keep you in here while I do this and not snip any wires. This might be more difficult than so far so good. This one's nice and easy. All right. So my standoffs are off. Oh, one more. Yeah, we'll do that one too. Okay, so now I've got this loom of wire. Um, was originally going to take all of the zip ties, the little zip ties off, but I think I'm going to leave them on. There's really no reason to take them off. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do is connect the wire loom, and I'll do this off camera and I'll show you the results when we get back. All right, we're back. And as you can see, I've added the wire loom and it looks much, much better. So got it all nice and tidied up. One thing that I failed to tell you guys is I did add these two vents here. Since batteries do off gas a little bit, I wanted to make sure that I had ventilation, so I added just two vents. No big deal there. So I'm going to put the battery back in, connect it all up, show you guys the wiring diagram, and I think we'll be done for this video. All right. Okay, now doing the terminal connectors. Tightening it down. Okay, let me show you the finished product here. Now these are the clips that I mentioned before. Again, they're not super tight, they're just snug, just there to prevent the battery from moving about too much, or if I hit a bump from it rattling about. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do is show everyone, or show you guys the wiring diagram. So with this wiring diagram, it's fairly crude. It's just something that I drew up real quick, as you see. So starting from the top, I have the battery itself. From the battery, I've got a switch. And then after the switch, the next thing that it goes to is both the voltage regulators. So there's VR and then VR. The 1 voltage regulator goes to my cigar adapter and my voltage regulator, or my voltage indicator. Then I also have my voltmeter and ammeter, which actually is before my voltage regulators, because the voltmeter and the ammeter is for the entire system, whereas the individual voltmeters are for those individual components. So the one voltage regulator goes to the one cigar adapter, then the other voltage regulator goes to the other voltage or the other cigar adapter and the other USB adapter. And with that, that's about it. And hopefully you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please give me a like. And if you want to see more of this, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Till then, I will see you on the next one, and clear skies.